Call the work session for our November 13th meeting to order. First on the agenda be the pledge, led tonight by our Assistant Superintendent, in charge of construction, Mr. Trey Lee. All right. I'd like to have a young man from MTSU working on a class project. Glad to have you here. Okay. Anything on the consent agenda we need to talk about? Okay, if not, we'll move right on to the agenda. And, well, can't do that tonight. Spotlight on education, we'll do that tomorrow night, I'm assuming, since nobody's here.
That's right.
Got quite a few of them. Number 9 there.
All right, number 9, Educational Epiphany LLC agreement found on tab 2. Mr. Danielle Dickey will present a workshop, Team Planning and Deconstructing Standards on December the 9th of 2019. This training follows District Goal 3, which is increasing achievement scores and reaching AMO targets. Also Goal 4, training effective teachers and district instructional leaders. The instructional coach will disperse training into each of their schools. The total cost for the training is $5,500 for the presenter. Title II funds will pay for 100% of the cost.
Any questions? Okay. John Coleman.
John Coleman Annex / Head Start found on tab 3. Currently, Rutherford County Schools houses a Head Start program in around half of the John Coleman Elementary, the Annex building, under the lease agreement held by Mid-Cumberland Head Start. On October 31st, 2019, Mid-Cumberland Head Start passed operation responsibilities to the new interim management group, CDL-CDI, and has requested that RCS enter into a lease with CDI containing the same or similar terms as that in place with Mid-Cumberland Head Start. It is within the board's discretion to start the process of terminating the lease with a 90-day notice or ending it at the end of the current school year.
Comment on that?
I do have a question on that. If we were to allow to the end of the school year, would we have to extend and sign a new lease, or how would that work?
We would have to
We would
extend
Just extend the
to a
existing?
certain time period, yes. And they would have to agree to sign those terms.
Do we know if we've been made whole on the amount that was owed from the other company?
We invoiced them last week, is that correct?
Yes, sir. We sent the invoice, my office invoiced them on November the 7th for the 26 months from August 1, 2017 through September 30th of this year, or what, per the contract, what they owed us.
Mr. Battery, can you tell us what the amount of that invoice was?
The total invoice amount was for $85,468.71, and that was once again based off the pro rata share of repairs, cleaning, utilities, landscaping, which included contract mowing. Mr. Lee had the contract mower give us an amount for like half the portion of the area around the John Coleman Annex. And then, of course, the $100 rent. And that breaks down to the 16,010 square feet. Yeah, 16,010 square feet of space that they're currently leasing from us out of the 42,820 square feet in the annex.
Any feeling at all on if we realistically expect to get paid?
I checked right before I came in here, and I've received nothing. However, that's been a week, and so it breaks down, that breaks down to approximately like an average of $3,287 a month, which is 21 cents per square foot lease. So that's very, very reasonable. So I can't tell you if they're gonna pay or not, but
Right.
it's a good price, so.
Is that going to Mid-Cumberland or CDI? Who's now responsible for this?
That, I sent it to the point of contact with the company, so
Okay.
that's who I've sent it to. That's
Mid-Cumberland.
Mid-Cumberland?
At this time, because that's who the contract was with. CDI would be a new contract. So I don't know that there would be a responsibility between the new and the old.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee, if we decide to terminate the contract and use that building, I know we've got to do some renovation. When would you have to have it, have it ready for, when we're talking about next fall? Okay?
Some of these renovations, the plumbing and things like that, we could phase it. It would be best if we had 6 months.
Okay, so we're looking at,
We would need
maybe March is the
March,
earliest
something like
we
that,
could get
yes, sir.
started probably.
February, March, yes, sir. The issue would be is that the and this is something we would have to look into, but the funds for those renovations are not in this year's budget. But I guess we could swap, I guess we could, if you guys decided to go this route, we could encumber some funds this year against next year's funds and then do one of Mr. Beaudry's budget updates and move the monies, reimburse the monies at the
We can
beginning
do
of
an
next
amendment.
year.
Yeah, we could do an amendment, right, Mr. Bouldry?
Yes, sir, if that's the will of the board, yes.
I'm sure the county commission would be happy with us finding more classrooms.
Yes, sir, we could definitely use them.
Anyone else?
Can we have a layout or drawing or something of like the premises there and where the Head Start's going to be and what the proposed classrooms, where they're going to be? Is there something available like that without you having to recreate the wheel?
Yeah, I've provided it to Mr. Beaudry. I can email that to you guys, or I can have it for tomorrow night. Now, Head Start's already there.
Right.
So if Head Start stays, nothing happens. We don't, but if Head Start was to move, then it would be up to the director of which, how we would use it. But yes, ma'am, I can send that to you. I'll have it for tomorrow.
Thank you. That's great.
Anyone else? All right. We can think about this overnight and look at your plan tomorrow, I guess, and make a decision. That'd give us a little, that's fine. Okay, number 11.
All right, number 11, Stewart's Creek High School Exploratory Committee. Stewart's Creek High School would like to form a committee to examine the formation of a booster club. The goal of the club will be to potentially raise funds for the construction of a batting facility for baseball and softball teams. Stewart's Creek High School seeks the board's approval as a preliminary step to obtain the board, any board feedback prior to the parents expending funds to form the booster itself. If the committee determines that the formal booster club will be needed, it will resubmit all formation documentation for the board's review and a formal approval.
Yeah, any questions on that? I'm surprised they don't already have a
I said the same thing.
booster club.
That's exactly what I said.
They currently have a football and a music booster club at the school, but not baseball, softball.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, number 12.
All right, number 12, disciplinary hearing appeals. We have 2 appeals. The board has been requested to review the October 18, 2019 decision of the Disciplinary Hearing Authority to uphold the remandment of a student from Siegel Middle School. The student was remanded to the alternative school under Board Policy 6.313 for making an inappropriate comment about bringing a gun to school. Based on the review of the DHA's record, the board may do the following: affirm the decision of the DHA, overturn the decision of the DHA, modify the decision to a lesser penalty, or grant a hearing before the board. B, disciplinary hearing appeal. The board has been requested to review the October 18, 2019 decision of the Disciplinary Hearing Authority to uphold the remandment of a student from Oakland High School. The student was remanded to the alternative school under Board Policy 6.313 for making electronic death threats. Based on the review of the DHA record, the board may do the following: affirm the decision of the DHA, overturn the decision of the DHA, modify the decision to a lesser penalty, or grant a hearing before the board.
Okay, you gonna give us a copy of that?
Yes, sir, I have them, and I'll give them to you after this meeting.
Thank you. Okay, number 13.
Number 13, facilities used approved for exemption pursuant to Board Policy 3.206, public education schools and institutions, post-secondary education institutions, private universities and colleges, governmental entities or agencies that provide benefits to the Rutherford County school system or have an in-kind relationship approved by the Director of Schools may request the Board of Education to allow an exemption from the use of the facility fee, which the board may allow or deny based upon the details of specific requests. The following: Cub Scout Pack 482, Pinewood Derby at Stewartsboro, Girl Scouts Troop 2432 and 2728 at Browns Chapel meetings, Troop 1549 meetings at Rock Springs Elementary, Troop 70 meetings at Rock Springs Middle, Troop 154 meeting and training at Stewartsboro. Smyrna Junior Basketball League, the 2019-2020 season, games at Rocky Fork Middle, Stewartsboro, practices at Browns Chapel, Stewartsboro, Stewarts Creek Elementary.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, financial matters.
All right, there's the financial matter, one of them, additional clerical position for the attendance office. The attendance office has had 2 classified employees since over 10 years. It's been that way. During that time, we've added somewhere between 12 and 15,000 students, so to say that they were overworked would be an understatement. The office is requesting 1 additional clerical position. This position will be the first new clerical position for the attendance office in a decade or more, and it's budgeted to be a skill level 4 pay grade. The budget amendment for this position will be brought later.
Any questions on that? Okay. Number 2 down there.
All right, number 2 is a discussion we're going to have Mr. Beaudry go over with our credit balance of school nutrition meals as of November the 1st, 2019. Most of the board members know that there has been a issue with debt with our lunches, so Mr. Beaudry is going to kind of give us an overview of that.
Thank you. As you can see on that second page of the handout that I provided in your packet, this is, let me go ahead and start on this first page. These are as of November 1, 2019. What you're looking at is by school, a breakdown of the credit balances that are owed for meals. And, this is for charges, not, we're not talking about free anything, free and reduced anything. This is for the actual meal charges that people pay. It's broken down by school, and then it's further separated by students, what the students owe, and the adults, of course, the teachers and the staff that would be charging in the school. As you can see, at November 1, we had a credit balance at the bottom line for the students of $156,060.09, and for the adults, it was $4,264. just to show, and then on the very right side of the column, I put on there just to show you for information purposes, the free and reduced lunch percentage for each of those schools. On the second page, just to show you a trend of what we're looking at year end, we had a charge trend for the last 3 school years. For the 16-17 end of school year in May, we had a balance owed to us of $82,375.23. After the nutrition managers at the individual schools and a couple of the accountants in my office worked to get that down and get some of that collected, they wound up, the general purpose school fund wrote a check to pay off $45,998.43 of uncollectible debt. Then you look down to the 17-18 fiscal year, you see it's grown to $119,000 at the end of the school year. We were able to bring that down to $89,323 is what the general purpose school fund wind up, dispersing to cover that. And then, of course, last school year, we wound up with $179,815 of credit balances that were unpaid meals. And we were able to work that down with the school nutrition managers in my office to $111,527.69 that the general purpose school fund could have checked to pay for that, because the cafeteria fund by federal law cannot cover those bad debts. It has to go to board allocations. As you can see right now, we're at about $160,000 that we're owed and growing by the month. I just want to make y'all aware of where we're at. And I checked with the director of school nutrition to make sure that they were complying with the board's charge policy, and they are. No charges are allowed for a la carte items. If the student owes a credit balance, they're just getting a regular meal. And that charge notifications per board policy are being sent home weekly from the school nutrition managers at their respective schools, and that is happening. And I checked with the school nutrition director to get an average of time that the school nutrition managers are spending weekly to just try to recoup costs. It's about 4 hours a week on average for school that the nutrition managers are spending. So there is a lot of effort being made by the staff to try to bring this down, but the balances are continuing to grow.
So this is not free and reduced. This is not free and reduced. This is,
That's correct.
This is the cost, yes, ma'am.
This is
Whole-
charges.
Yes,
These are charges from those that either don't qualify for free and reduced or have not turned in their paperwork.
that's correct.
so do we hold report cards for those that haven't paid?
I don't believe.
We do hold report cards. We're limited on what we can do as far as, we can hold a report card, but there's, the issue is that they can charge everything with the exception of a la carte. I mean, there's not one issue. I think it's a multitude of things that are going on there. You got to look at your demographics in terms of, why are they not turning in their free and reduced forms? You got to look at those kind of things. We got to work with our cafeteria manager. We got to work with our principals. He's just mentioned the fact that as a whole, they're taking 4 hours a week.
Yes, sir.
To try to recoup these things. This is not unique to Rutherford County. However, I think there are some processes that are working in some of our schools that we got to duplicate those. And Mr. Baldry and myself, we've talked about these things. We're bringing it to your attention right now, but we will come back with some recommendations by next month.
Can they fill the paperwork out online?
They can do it all online. There's nothing that's keeping them, a lot of schools, when they come in and register, they do that, making sure that they let them know that they qualify, or that if they qualify or not. There's, like I said, there's a lot of things that can impact why we have such a high charges. Some of them could be, could be not wanting to fill out the paperwork. I don't think that's all of it. I think there's, like I said, there's a variety of different things that is going on, and these are the things that Mr. Boulder and myself will be working through and see what are some good practices that are occurring at other schools that are keeping it down, and try to duplicate those in the other schools.
And we have to let them charge it, right?
Yes, sir, if it's, we don't do alternative meals. In our system, what we do is, if a child doesn't have money, they're still gonna eat. They're still gonna get a meal.
This include breakfast
Yes, sir.
charges as well?
Yes, sir.
What did you say? I want to make sure I didn't misunderstand you. What's the figure now for this year, to this point?
The total amount is 156, as of November 1st, $156,060.09 for the students, $4,264.47 for the adults, for $160,324.56 total.
So we're just really a little bit short of all of last year.
We're
We're going to be well over $250,000 by the end of the year if we prorate it out there, aren't we?
we're trending towards 200,000 or over. Yes, sir.
By adults, are you talking about teachers?
Yes, sir.
Certified and classified.
Yeah.
Well, I know where they get their paycheck.
Fortunately, theirs is a little bit lower than that left side of the column.
Yes, sir.
But that's something.
Well, I do know this, and so do y'all. I don't think anybody's advocating anything different, but a hungry child will not learn,
Oh, good.
period.
Agreed.
So I don't know the solution, but I know a hungry child will not learn very much.
And we can't use any of the cafeteria funds to pay for that, can we?
No, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if there isn't a way for us to look back at each nutrition department would look back and see, are there children who habitually are having these balances or not eating or bringing, and then maybe connect them with the Atlas program? Or, I mean, there's got to be some way that we can, I recently toured the Journey Home, and what I learned there was that some of these families don't want to report that they're homeless or that they're in need because they're afraid their children are going to be taken away from them. And so maybe we need to do a better job of maybe connecting those resources. And I'm not suggesting that they are homeless, but I would agree that our students shouldn't go hungry, but this is a growing problem, obviously. So are you seeing that at all in any of these nutrition programs?
Can I answer that question? Because I was obviously a principal. I think you see a variety of things. I've seen students who, have had money, and they may have spent it or may not have spent it in the bookstore, and they just went over and charged. Now, I'm not saying all, but what I'm saying is it's not just one thing, I think if we look at our northern end of the county, you're going to find some areas where they're not going to fill out that paperwork, and not just northern end, but up here too. And I do know that they do look to see if the sibling is on, or because it rolls over each year. So if there's a sibling, if they have a sibling in the system that's on it, they check that and make sure and follow up, making sure that they're filling out their paperwork also.
We've had that experience with our children where they will misuse their money, and but by the time we get a notice from the cafeteria, the number is way larger than we're happy with. So it creates a problem for the parents too. So I wonder if not addressing that earlier could offset. If there is a need, we can connect them with the appropriate services to help meet that need, even if it's just for a season. And I mean, that might be a solution.
I think everything's on the table. I mean, I think it's going to take a variety of different things.
And if I'm not mistaken, the process, because I agree with Mr. Jordan and with Ms. Johnson, we don't want any child going hungry. But as far as parents being fearful, I mean, the application for free and reduced lunch, it doesn't go anywhere other than outside of the school system, does it? I mean, there wouldn't be any reason for that to raise red flags with DHS or somebody that somebody's not taking care of their children because they apply for a free or reduced lunch rate, correct?
No, it's just staying.
Okay.
You know, and they're.
We make the decisions internally when we review those, correct?
Yes, and they're discreet about it. You know, the nutrition managers would contact the parent.
Right.
You know, when they started seeing, you know, if the child's not on free and reduced, they contact the parent when they saw the credit charges and say, hey, you know, we can, if you qualify, we can get you on this program.
And let's say it's a parent that maybe doesn't have access to, you know, computer, internet, whatever. Of course, most people do these days. But if indeed they're homeless and in that kind of a dire situation, they may not, but they could come here to central office and pick up the paperwork and fill it out confidentially, right?
The nutrition manager would help them
Right.
at their school.
That's what I thought.
They would.
Okay. Thank you.
And part of this is growth, too. I mean, we got 1,100 more youngsters this year than we had last year. So some percentage of that is we're going to have an increase here as well. That's a difficult problem, isn't it? It really is.
I just wanted to bring it to your attention earlier.
Yes.
So,
Oh, I'm glad you did.
All right, Blackman Middle School.
All right, Blackman Middle School, Dr. Conaffy Marlin is requesting pour concrete for bleacher support at the girls softball field at the cost of $2,000. Labor and material is being donated by Smyrna Ready Mix. This request is at no cost to the board. Engineering and Construction has reviewed this request and find it acceptable. And if any questions, baseball has already had this for a while.
Okay. Rockwell High School.
Rockville High School Principal Steve Luker is requesting to install a partial obstacle course for the ROTC program at no cost to the board. Engineering and Construction has reviewed this request and finds it to be acceptable.
Okay. Questions on that?
Where's that going to go?
Around that. Most of it right now, they're doing their road bridge and things like that. They're gonna do it on the back.
Thank you.
Another one from Rockwell.
This was from Rockville High and Rockville Middle, collaborating together. Principals Luker and Barlow are requesting to purchase a joint use of a 12-foot by 16-foot storage building for athletics for the amount of $3,675 off the county bid at no cost to the board. The cost is to be a 50-50 between the two schools. Engineering and Construction has reviewed this request and find it to be acceptable.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, insurance update?
Next Thursday, 1 o'clock, your next meeting.
Thank you. Director's update?
I'll have something on Wednesday.
All right. Tennessee Legislative Network?
I'll have something tomorrow night.
Okay. Federal?
I'll have something for you tomorrow.
All right. General discussion? Yes, sir.
Director Spurlock has asked that our next board meeting in December, we allot a little bit of time for the building program and kind of an update where we are, where we're going, and that sort of thing. So if there's anything that you all have specific or you'd like for me to cover other than the general things, you'll let me know in the next couple of weeks. I'll be sure and cover it during that meeting.
Is there anything on this you'd like to explain before we?
That may be helpful. The drawing that that I passed out is the present John Coleman Annex, where it was, the way it was laid out when the elementary was there. The part that you see cross-hatched, that's the part that Head Start has now. That's the part that they're using. The part, which would be the left side, fifth grade, learning lab, those kind of things, that's being used by the STEM program, Head Start, the nurses are there, maintenance has got an office there, so they're being utilized for other things. If Head Start was to, if y'all were to decide not to renew their lease, that would free up, we would possibly relocate some of these folks other places and use this space differently. What you see crosshatched is the part that is presently being rented by Cumberland Head Start.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Lee on that? Quite a few classrooms, isn't it?
A lot of space.
I do have a question. Are these classrooms currently that Head Start is using, have they been modified for specific use by that program?
No, the only thing that we've modified is that to have a preschool, you do have to have additional smoke alarms and things like that. There has been no modifications, no walls added, no walls taken down. They're basically utilizing the space like it shows with additional fire alarm.
So for them to move to another facility,
It would be minimal work. And the fire alarm that was there, it would be over what's needed for for a high school or a middle school age student, but we wouldn't have to take it out. It would just be more than what is required.
It would appear that the rooms themselves are renovated to the point where they have projectors, drop ceilings, very good.
We had, prior to building the new John Coleman Elementary, a few years prior to that, this school was in pretty bad shape, and we did a fairly substantial facelift, painting, ceilings, floors, that kind of thing. And we've been down there, and it's still in, there's a place or two that needs some attention, but overall, it's still in good shape.
and our maintenance has taken care of that, not the Head Start program? They have done none of that?
They've done a little.
Okay.
But like, there's been very minimal things, like if there's air conditioning, we would have done that because it's our system in our building. So like if they needed a light bulb changed or something like that, they probably had someone else do it. But anything major plumbing or major HVAC would have been us.
I think when we talked to them, they had one maintenance person that rotated around their different sites, so they weren't there a whole lot. It's mainly us that did that.
Thank you.
Okay.
One more, if I may. Do they need all of this room? They just used it because it's available?
Are all of those spaces being utilized for classrooms? No. Are they using them for food prep? And even though John Coleman Elementary provides their breakfast and lunch, and they would reimburse us. But they still have some food prep. I didn't know they were doing that. In one of the classrooms, they've got some racks set in there and a table, so I don't know if they're making snacks or, kind of what they were doing, but they're not all utilized for classrooms, but yes, they are utilizing each class. In the part that they have rented, they're utilizing it all.
Do we know how much they would need if we did move them? Would they, since we haven't done the contract, we may not know that, but if we did move them somewhere else, would they require the same amount?
I couldn't speak for them. That would be a question that Head Start would have to answer.
We really have any space anywhere to move them to, do we?
We do not.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Lee. Anyone else on board discussion? Not, we're adjourned.